6 great exercises that really will burn fat. Hey guys, Mark McKillier here with Live Anabolic, and today I've put together another list. All right, these are my 6 best fat burning exercises that don't require running. That's the key. So if you're like me, you don't like going out, and running. It's good for you, but a lot of guys that are watching right now have got bad knees and you just can't do it. And I just also want to fill you in on good exercises that burn fat and explain to you the science, okay? So there's lots of studies out there, but from what I've read and understand is that kind of slow, steady state type cardio, all right, tends to use fat as a source of energy instead of carbohydrates. But when you're doing sprinting type stuff, when you're really out of breath, okay, anaerobic type exercises, your body tends to use carbohydrates as a source of energy, and hence it's not as effective as burning fat. That's one of the reasons why you see these bodybuilders, okay, I mean serious guys that get down to 1-2% body fat for these contests. You won't see them out jogging or sprinting or doing anything where they're out of breath. They're doing real slow, steady state stuff because that tends to target the fat cells, and it also prevents you from losing muscle mass. All right, they're very concerned about that. All right, so I'm just going to kind of go through this list, talk about each machine. Most of these, are done at the gym. Now, there's a couple that you can do at home. You don't need any special equipment, but most of this is going to be, gym-based exercises that really does work. It really does burn fat. So let's just start off with number 1, and this is not in any particular order of effectiveness, okay? I just kind of threw these down here. So the first one is the rowing machine at the gym. Guys, very few people do that rowing machine, but it is killer if you push yourself hard. But remember, I don't want you to be doing that. That's the sprinter mentality. You need to just kind of get in a nice, steady pace that you can maintain, okay, where you're not just, getting out of breath. But it uses tons of muscles, all right? It probably uses the most muscles in your body of any of these exercises. So the rowing machine is a great way to burn calories, all right? Number 2 would be the stationary bike, all right? A lot of you guys have a stationary bike at home. They don't take up much space. Some of them are not very expensive, all right? Great way to burn calories. These bodybuilders, you'll see them do the stationary bike, okay? The ones at the gym, some of them are recumbent, where you can sit kind of back, and there's like it's kind of like you're sitting in a chair. I love doing those, all right? But a stationary bike is another way where you can get your heart just a little elevated, but you don't necessarily get out of breath. And the cool thing about doing the stationary bike is you can watch stuff. You can watch videos. You can watch a podcast. You will totally lose track of time. You can go for miles and miles, okay, and not know it because I've gotten engrossed in a 45-minute podcast. All right. Number 3, stairmaster. Got to go to the gym for that. Nobody's going to have a stairmaster at home, and that one can be pretty tough, which means you got to set the speed relatively low, okay? Because if you're going just a hair too fast, you'll start building up lactic acid in your quads, all right? And then it'll start burning, and you'll just have to stop. Also, you'll probably start running out of breath, okay? So Stairmaster is another great way. Even if you have bad knees, most people can still do that exercise. Number 4, okay, walking/treadmill, okay? This is one of those exercises you can do at home. You can just walk around the neighborhood. But I urge you to try walking at a brisk pace. You can walk fast without getting out of breath. That way it'll get your heart rate elevated just a little bit. That's what we're shooting for, a slight elevation of our pulse, all right, without going too high, because if we go too high, then we start, really targeting, carbohydrates in our system versus fat cells, all right? Treadmill, same thing, you guys. Love doing it at the gym. At the gym, you can also add an incline, all right? And the cool thing about the treadmill at the gym is you can see, you can set the pace and you can see exactly how fast you're going. All right, and you could just remember that for the next time. Oh, I was doing 3.5 miles an hour, and seemed like it was a little slow. Let's bump it up to 3.8 miles per hour. All right, so either one of those are great, and that is also the treadmill. That's also what the bodybuilders do. They just get on that treadmill and they'll put a little their tablet and they'll just start watching and they'll just walk and put the headphones on. All right, number 5, got to go to the gym for the elliptical machine. Another great exercise for guys with really bad knees. I mean, that's zero impact on your knees, guys. And when you're using the handles, you're kind of getting the upper body and the lower body at the same time, which means it'll help get your heart rate up. But once again, you don't need to push yourself real hard. If you're doing it so fast with so much resistance, because you can dial in a different resistance rating in addition to the speed. If you do too much of that, then you start getting out of breath, and then you take a cardio exercise, an aerobic exercise, and turn it into an anaerobic, which means it's like sprinting, and you can't maintain it. So keep it pretty mellow. 6th and final one, you can do at home. Most of you guys are not going to do this. I actually like doing it, and that is jump rope. All right. And before you say, oh, I got bad knees, I can't do that. Remember, when you're jumping rope, you're only getting that high off the ground. I mean, literally, you're only getting 1 inch, maybe even less than an inch off the ground. And so really, there's not a lot of impact on your knees. So, give it a try. All right. If nothing else, it's a good kind of eye-hand coordination type thing. And it's good for your balance too. And then one of the things I like to do with these different exercises, because I get bored doing cardio. I think that's why a lot of men don't do it, because it is boring. I will mix it up. I won't just get on the rowing machine for half an hour. Let's say I'm shooting for 30 minutes of cardio. I will get on the rowing machine for 5 minutes, and then I will move over to the stationary bike for 5 minutes. Then I'll get on the treadmill for 5 minutes, and then I'll repeat. You don't get bored that way. It really works fantastic, guys. Plus, it's mixing up the muscle groups that you're using. So 6 great exercises that really will burn fat, all right, and don't require running. And then, of course, guys, remember, you got to stick with it and never give up on yourself.